What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindshare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, along with REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. Learn more about our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our book, The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 240. They are residential and investment real estate agents living in Barrie, Ontario, helping local families find homes and business-savvy folks make money investing in their great city. Not only do they live and work in Barrie, but they also own investment properties there, saying, that's how much we believe in the growth of our city. They go on to say, real estate is a lot more than just MLS listings and a payout for us. It's about creating personal relationships and, above all, knowing the market. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is the Smith and Hewitt real estate team out of Barrie, Ontario, Blair Smith and Tim Hewitt. Gentlemen, welcome to the Mindshare podcast.
You guys.
How's it going, David?
It is going well, guys. Excited to have you here.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. You know, I keep mentioning about Barrie, Ontario, and it's funny. We've got a running joke, and I know that if Leanne is watching right now, she's laughing because I always talk about, being all the way up in Barrie.
Right.
But I got to say, I do love the city.
Yeah.
I love the town of Barrie. Is it a town or is it a city?
City.
It's now a city, right? Like, did it used to be the town of Barrie?
I'm sure years and years ago it was when the population was 30, 40,000 people, and that would have been probably in the 80s and 90s. And
how many people there now?
It's pushing 200 now. I mean, yeah.
Well, I know that the growth up there is amazing. The geography is amazing. Coming from just let's say 45 minutes down the 400, the reality is there's a lot of flat and a lot of just buildings. You get up, and I like I say this very sincerely. Like, you get up there, and there's, you've got the different, I don't want to say rolling hills, but just the different topography. You got a lot of, woodsy areas. There's so much to do up there. The waterfront that's up there, and not for anything, but Barrie brings a soft spot to me every single time I'm up there now, because we, Jen and I did find our dream home up there last year, and for just a variety of reasons, we ended up not pulling the trigger and not moving up there. Anyhow, I don't want to talk about Barrie.
Still can.
No, Joy.
I know a couple guys that can help you out.
Yeah. But no, it's great to have you both on the show today. And so I jump in right now with the big question, which I'm sure you are getting a ton of right now. But seeing that we just had a whole bunch of interest rate hikes over a very short period of time, we've got the summer lulls going on. How's the market out there? And I might double down on that and say, do you think we're headed for, or maybe even are already in a recession, or are people just completely distracted because it's summertime? What's your take on the market right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you just touched on is the seasonality of it, right? Like you were just saying, we have beautiful waterfront here. I'll tell you, the majority of people that live up here have boats, have cottages, have things like that. So when you get to the beginning of July, August, it's a little quieter around here. People are out on the water. People are out enjoying themselves. So I think there is some seasonality to it. Summer starts, people kind of chill out, enjoy it. We don't have a very long one here in Canada to begin with. But it'll be interesting to see, because these interest rates, obviously last week is pretty fresh, or a week and a half ago. It'll be interesting to see, but I think that's going to play a part of it.
Yeah, and then overall, I think the market's, the first, or at least what we're seeing in our marketplace, was the first interest rate hike, which happened, I think it was first or second week of June, took a little bit of air out of the market. This last one, I think, has continued that. So as far as a recession, I'm not sure if that's the case. There's still lots of activity out there. The people that are out there working and are active are still doing business. So from our business perspective, we don't really, I think the market is cooling, yes. You have to adjust to what the market's telling us, absolutely. Yep. But it's not going to stop us from, hitting the streets, making our calls, doing our things we got to do to keep our sales going. But so it's, we're in a very interesting time right now. But you just keep going on, keep doing what you got to do.
Oh, like, are things slow? Are people out there asking questions? Are people inquiring? Does it seem like people are having some interest? Like, I know you guys are always busy. You've built a business. I want to get into that with you about like what that's all about. So I know for you guys, there's always a consistent flow.
Yeah,
right.
You can come without the work ethic, but before we dive into that, is it just overall take on it?
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit slower. I had active buyers at the end of June that we're out there wanting to see properties every other day, making offers, things like that. July kind of hit, and they said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to go to the cottage on the weekends. I'm going to do this. Like, we're just going to take a back seat for a little bit." And I'm sure interest rates had a little bit of effect to it as well.
And I would say, just like on the active listings that we have right now, what we're seeing is the showing activity slowing down. Yeah. Especially on that entry level to mid-range market, where a month and a half ago we would see 40, 50 people come through in a week, and we would have 8, 10, 12, 15 offers on a property, which is crazy, based on today's interest environment.
Yeah.
Over the last week to 2 weeks, now we're starting to see, instead of having, 30, 40 people come through, you might get 8 or 10. And the bidding wars are drying up, right? So that's just a sign of the times right now. So it is, to answer your question, it has cooled down a bit. The demand's kind of pulled back.
But if we go back historically, and I'm not talking like years and years and years, but I'm talking last year, the year before, and it's weird because, again, post all that other stuff that went on a few years back, right? Like you say, it was really, really different before that. We saw the makings of a market, but then when things, when shit hit the fan at that point, and like our world changed, we also saw some differences. And I think we saw a difference in habits, mannerisms, desires from people. And so it's really, it's interesting to be able to do a comparison right now based on what it was to what it is now. But I would ask that question and say, based on, let's say, last year and the year prior, were we in a similar boat around this time last year and even the year prior, in terms of just, it's summertime, like people are doing stuff? Or what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of that. Last year was, well, obviously we all know, completely different, right? March hit and it was everything changed. But then in the summer, people were kind of getting used to the fact, like, okay, interest rates are going up. This is going to continue. Like, we're accepting this and we're going to move on, right? 2 years ago, completely different story, right? Every time we went into a lockdown, our market went crazy. And especially for us being where we are, people coming out of the GTA. I had a couple clients that they lived in a 3-bedroom condo with 2 young kids in Midtown Toronto. And all they wanted to do was get up here, because they were working from home anyway, and have a big yard and a big house close to the park, close to the beaches that they could actually go to.
So, yeah, well, we saw a lot of people doing the migration. And I think that now it's interesting too, because we're watching how, I guess the office towers downtown, which really emptied out. And I'm talking downtown Toronto, which really emptied out at a point. People started getting, like, moving further out.
Yeah.
They've been doing everything they possibly can to bring people back in, right? And I mean, this is something where it's about creating culture. When it comes to those businesses, it's their people coming together, collaborating together, doing things together. We know that real estate is a different game than that. It's not necessarily like, the two of you collaborate together. You guys have your team, and you guys have obviously your staff in the background as well that are helping you guys get to where you got to get to.
Yeah.
But again, there's been a real shift there in what work habits look like for people, which then I also think is going to have an impact on what's going on for buying power. For
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't working as hard anymore. What kind of conversations are you guys having with clients right now? Like, what's their big question at the moment?
I think the big question right now is where's this market going?
Okay.
Right. And one thing that we always say to people is, we have the same crystal ball as you do. What we look at is the stats. The stats don't lie. Right. So, we give them that kind of education. But I think the big question right now is, what direction are we going? Sideways? Are we going up? We're going down? What's the Bank of Canada going to announce? And one thing that I find right now, and it has been for years and years and years, is the Canadian real estate market, and the real estate market in general, revolves a lot around media. and media attention and what the news is saying, right? So I find with all the publicity around the Bank of Canada and interest rates, that's all we're hearing. You're starting to see a little bit of a shift where people go, they're starting to pull back. They're starting to be a little bit more cautious, right? Whereas 3 months ago, when Bank of Canada was pausing interest rate and a lot of people were here in the market was bouncing back, it was amazing to see how many people were jumping back into the market,
multiple offers,
because the price were going up. And nowadays, I think one of the answer to that question a question or two ago is that the shift has been, people are going, okay, you know what? I think the market's going to go down. So instead of buying, we're just going to do nothing, which is going to be a little similar to last year, right? Like last year, there was a lot of negativity around the market. There was lots of negativity around interest rates. Everyone was waiting for the big crash in real estate, right? The big crash in real estate's coming. Yeah. And what happened was demand dropped, prices came down. I don't think it's the same as it was last year. I think last year was an exception, right? 8 consecutive interest rate hikes, 8 consecutive, which is a record never done before. This year, there's just, I think people sense that we're near the top of interest rate environment and we're having a little bit more stability. There's not as much fear in the market, but it is softening.
Yeah, you bring up the media and the message from that. And this is one thing that I've continued to say to our industry specifically. If you allow the media to dictate the narrative, then that's what's going to happen out there. And I believe that, yes, the media is the media, and you've got the mainstream media, you got the social media, and you've got differences of opinions on both, right? Mainstream media seems to have a mainstream message that they all seem to put out there, as opposed to one side saying something and one side saying something else. Now what you've got is you got mainstream versus social. And you got the people in social who, look, years ago, there might have been a stigma around, it's social media. It doesn't really matter what people have to say. That's fake news. Well, now when you look at it, you go, no, that's the real deal. That's people's real opinions, real thoughts, real concerns, real challenges. That's what people are talking about. Yeah. And I do believe, although the mainstream media is that powerful in terms of the channels that they've got, the reach that they've got, when we look at the number of us that there are, and I'm talking from homeowners to people in the industry itself, if we begin to actually have the education, and maybe I should rephrase that, not if we begin to have the education, many people do have the education.
Right.
That said, if everybody works to educate themselves even more on what's truly going on out there, tries to get a real picture of, and nobody can predict the future, but what may happen.
Right.
And now we've got an educated response. We can now leverage that together as an industry,
right, to
combat the narrative that the mainstream puts out there. Because again, people flock like sheep. And they follow other people. They follow what the mainstream's doing without doing the proper research to figure out what's really going on out there.
Right.
So I just think there's an opportunity right now as an industry, and I've been saying this now for a while. If we continue to be out there and talk about where the opportunities are in this market, people will find that there are. And I'm with you. I think we're getting to the top of that interest rate. I'll tell you that 2-3 years ago, I talked about it, and I even asked the question to a lot of that seem to have their finger on the pulse of what's going on with the market.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5 years when people are up for renewal? Yeah. Are people just going to have to get out of their homes because they can't afford? No, people have lots of money. It's okay. Yeah, but if somebody's going in and spending an extra $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 on a mortgage in a year, 2 years, 3 years, when rates do go up and things do change, what's going to happen? How are they going to afford that extra $500, $1,000, $2,000 on that mortgage payment a month? Yeah. So I think there's opportunity here. I also think that if we, again, really share that narrative out there with people, we can combat the mainstream media, show our clients where the potential opportunities are, and set people up for some real opportunity when this thing hits sort of its top, or if you want to call it its bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of opportunity in the market right now. Like right now, we're seeing lots of people. If you're looking at buying, you're looking at flipping, you're looking at investing into real estate. Tons of opportunity, and it's like Warren Buffett saying, where it's like there's fear there, and everyone's worried. That's the time you strike. Right. So there's a little bit of a shift, and things are softening. These are the opportunities you can get good deals. So if you're a buyer in today's market, this is the time to act.
And you can combat that narrative from any kind of media, social media, because social media, you're looking at peers, friends, typically their information, right? But the way to combat it with, like, for what we do with our clients is just a continuous education. Like, putting out a video to them, showing them exactly what's happening in their area. And then they go, oh, it's not as bad as what they're saying it is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, it's right there in front of you. You can see it. And then that tends to help that fear or, just education for them.
And another thing I'll just kind of touch on and talking about what direction the market's been doing, we always say to people, we have the same crystal ball, but what I can tell you is I can tell you what history has proven us, right? So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if you look back 5 years and you look 5 years before that, where were prices? So 5 years ago, where were prices? It was a lot cheaper to buy a house in 2018 than it was today, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in 2013, it was a lot cheaper than 2018, right? So I can't tell you in the next 6 to 12 months where the market's going to go. But what I can tell you is if we push forward another 5 years in the future, I guarantee you it will be more expensive then than it is today, right?
Hey, listen, you look at the past century.
Yeah.
Decade over decade.
Yeah.
The real estate market is up.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the amount of, and the interesting thing is too, and I'll just touch on this, the amount of people back in 2006 and 7. So I got my real estate license in 2004. 2006 or 7 was a hot market in Canada, right? And back then people told me, how is this prices ever going to get any higher? How is the prices ever going to get any higher? Guess what? They did. 2013, 14, 15, 16, people would say, there's no way I'm going to make money on this house. Mm-hmm. There's no it's too high.
17 was the biggest one, right?
Yeah.
When before the pandemic one, when prices were going crazy and, people were looking at it and going, they'll never reach this again. And when Kathleen Wynne made the announcements to cool the housing market, it cooled and everybody thought, we're done. We're losing our shirt. And that was a big conversation. People saying, what's going to happen in 5 years? Are people going to be able to afford this? And look 5 years down the road, prices doubled from then.
Yeah.
Wild, isn't it? So here, speaking of that, then, as we talk about the market, and looking at maybe right now, the market's slightly slower than maybe what it was, right? And again, I'm going to look at that and boil that down to we got great weather and we got a few interest rate hikes. People are taking advantage right now.
For sure.
Yeah. How does that impact what you guys are doing on a daily basis? Tim, you brought up about, educating the clients and just, again, sharing the information with people. Does your routine change much at all? Or do you guys just stay status quo, keep plugging, keep moving forward with the same sort of routine? Like, how does that impact it?
You know what? I would say one thing that we pride ourselves, and one of the reasons we've had consistent results for many, many, many years, is that our routine doesn't change. Yeah. And I always say this to people, good market, bad market, medium market, up, down, sideways, it doesn't matter. What we focus on every single day is coming into the office. We're grinders. We come in, we show up, we do our job, and we leave. So, in 2016, 17, when the market was going crazy, we were working our butts off. In 2020, 2021, we were working our butts off. But guess what? When the market started to shift and then things were changing, we still worked our butts off. We still showed up at the office, and that's how you get consistent results. So, if you focus on what the market's doing versus what you're doing within the market or your activities, that's how you get the results. So I would say
nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
You might even say when it gets a little bit slower like this, we work a little bit harder, or it's, working a little bit more on things that when we don't have that much time, when we're running around from appointments to, showings, listings, whatever it might be, there's a little bit more time to now work on goals, things in the business, right?
Yeah, working on the business, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And being able to, set some time aside to go through those things. Because sometimes we're running around so much that we are like ships passing the night in the office, right? It's like, not time to sit down and be like, how's everything going? What about this lead? What about this? And, now we have some time to actually do that.
So what would you guys say are then some non-negotiables that you guys both focus on regularly to continue to drive business?
Easy. So 2021, 88% of our business comes from people we know, past clients, and referrals. Okay. And the reason we know this is we track our numbers. If you want to have a predictable future, you need to know what you've done in the past, right? Absolutely. So 88% in 2021, 89% of our business came from past clients, center of influence, and referrals in 2022. Okay. So our non-negotiables is our IPAs around our database. So our database is our gold mine. That's where we get our business, and that's where we're going to focus on. So I would say the very first thing that we do before we start chasing people we don't know, we chase people we already know and trust us, who already likes us, trust us, that want to do business. That's where our business is born. And one thing I would say to you on that note is that wasn't something we discovered day one. This was a journey for us.
Yeah.
You know, this was 10, 12 years of door knocking, open houses, just grinding, contact, cold calling, like calling from Canada 411 on Mojo, triple dialers. We did all triple dialers on, you know, calling for sale by owners, calling, you know, all, you name it, we did it. But then it came to a point in our business where, you know, when you operate like that, you start to get worn down, right? You start to get fatigued from it. So for us, it was 2000, probably 15 or so, where we made, or 14, 15, where we made a conscious effort that we've already built a big business. Now we need to transition that business into nurturing the people that already like us and trust us. So that was a big focus for us. And I would say that that shift has paid, well, look at our numbers now. 89% of our business comes from people. It's an easier way to do business, and it's cheaper for us, right?
And to say that that's the only thing, I mean, we still, you know, going to that effect, we still go and we still do door knocking, not so much cold calling because you know, nobody has a landline anymore. But we'll still have goals for a month or a year that we want to go out and knock on X amount of doors. It's not the best and the funnest thing in the world, but we do see business from it. Not a huge amount, but we also don't focus our huge amount of time on it. Open houses, those things. So we are still doing some of those activities that, you know, created the business, but it's not the main focus anymore.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's an aspect. It's a small aspect of the business that we have a target that we set up with David in our coaching program that we still need to capture some of that business, right? Yeah. Just like Tim was saying. So there is door knocking in our goal tracker. There is the open houses that we try to do at least one, like both of us will do one open house a month. We both want to hit X amount of doors every single month. So we're still doing that. But I know that if we invest time into doing our home value videos, our past client follow-up, our lead follow-up, all that stuff, that's where that's our non-negotiables that, you know, we don't care if it's December or July when everyone's on vacation, we're going to be in the office doing this stuff. Yeah. And I think that's been the recipe for our success to this point.
How much do you look forward to doing those CMA videos and doing the door knock? Like, right? Like I see you laughing, right? Like it's tedious. It's tedious. And I think that this is one of the things that people don't realize, right? Like I've said this forever. First thing you do when you get into this business, before you brush your teeth at night, I want you to go and I want you to build a contact list. Like you get your license, the first thing to do is build a list. Typically speaking, what happens is you go and you get your license, you sit down with your broker, your manager, you go, what should I do? And they go, like, pick a neighborhood and go farm it. In my mind, you haven't got the money for that just yet. You haven't got the recognition just yet. You don't have a routine or a system for follow-up in place just yet. So it's really a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Whereas when you can figure out, okay, who are the people that I know who already knows me and likes me? I'm already 2/3 of the way to the trust me. I might even have the trust me. Well, it's going to take trust to get anybody's listing. It's going to take trust to get anybody to believe yes, you're going to be the person to help them go and shop as a buyer. You've got to build the trust. And by going to your contact list, that's where the gold comes from. You just said it, Blair. That's your gold mine. I said it forever. Mine that shit.
I agree. The only thing I would say to you on that, David, is that, you know, it depends on where you came from. It depends on how, you know, are you new to a city? So I'll just tell you a little bit about my story. I was a competitive figure skater, Tim as well. Got into the business at 23 years old. Not only did I look like a young kid, I was a young kid. So there was a trust factor there, right? I didn't look like, you know, someone that was a grizzly veteran in the real estate business. Coupled with, I moved from Brantford to Barrie, and I lived in Barrie for 1 to 2 years. So I didn't know a lot of people, right? So it's one thing if you know, you're born and raised in a certain city and you have this huge network of people, I just didn't have that. So I did have a database and I did grow it, but I could probably count in two hands how many people I knew, right?
So what did you do then? Okay, so what did you do?
Well, there was I actually, funny enough, I started getting coached.
Yeah,
because we both grew up in a coaching environment. When I showed up at the rink, I had a coach that would train us, and it got us to an elite level, right? So we started to get coached. And one thing I learned very early on in the business is there's a lot of people, especially, it's different today. Our business has evolved today. But back then, nobody knew me and Barry, and nobody knew you, nobody trusted you. So there was more people that didn't know you than knew you. So what did you have to do? So I was out door knocking. We were out cold calling. We were out doing open houses. We were pounding the pavement.
Well, that was exactly the same. When I got my license, I moved up here from Milton. I did live here when I was younger, but all those people had gone or they were best friends, and it didn't matter because they were Blair's friends. Yeah. So I had to create a contact list because I wasn't going to get the business from Oakville or Milton or where I had lived before. So it was cold calling, door knocking. I think I did 2 open houses a month at least, and did it that way. And then those people are actually now still clients, and looking at it, going back, done 2 transactions with them, some 3 transactions with them, because maybe met them cold calling, but then kept in contact with them over the years.
I think just kind of touching on that real too quickly, David, is that people get into the business and think that just because I have my real estate license, people are going to call me.
Right.
The reality is you're going to wait in the office and nobody's going to call you unless you call them. Right.
And they probably know 4 or 5 realtors, especially nowadays.
Right. Exactly. So I think it's mining that. It's right now our main focus is really mining that database. That is a gold mine for us and always will be. And then it's continually servicing that database and really working it. So, but it's amazing to see how far we've come from when we started and how we generate and grew that database to today. Now it's organically growing, but we still actively work on it. It's not something that we sit back and, we're, just like, this, we're constantly adding people to the database.
We have goals of how many people we want to add in each month. And
okay, there it is though, right? There it is. And I like the adjustment we made to the statement that even I made about just start with the contact list, right? Because you're right. There are some people that are coming from places that might be coming from overseas. They might be coming from a completely different neighborhood, different city, a different province, a different country, whatever it is. There's people coming in that don't have that big database. So fair. From there, we know, and you just mentioned it as well, as you're going out there and you're starting to prospect and you start to get to know people, one thing that's hugely important is going to be the follow-up. Yeah. Right? We talk about the riches are in the niches. Well, we also know that the fortune is in the follow-up. And if we're not doing the follow-up, we're not going to get that business because, again, would you say that the first people that you met that were complete strangers, they turned around and said, yeah, I'll sell my house just because you came by?
Never.
Right? Or I like you, so I'm just going to do it now. Or did it take time?
Took time.
Of course.
And I mean, an easy scenario or situation that just happened last year, outdoor knocking, met these people, good conversation, but on the driveway, didn't even invite us in the house. The next day, come back, send them a thank you card. Thanks for your time. Thanks for taking time to chat. Mm-hmm. Got that thank you card. And then we came back out and we had sold a property in the neighborhood. So we had just sold flyers that went out. She called me the next day. She's like, I saw your face 3 days in a row. She's like, and I knew it was it. I just had to call you. But it took 3 times for her to be like, okay, now I'll call you. I've seen you a couple times.
And as well as they went to the database, right? So there's all those touch points, and we love the KIPS system. We've been followers and subscribers to KIPS for I don't know how many years now.
5, 6 years.
5, 6 years.
We're grateful, guys. Seriously, I thank you.
Yeah,
I do.
So, and it's just that touch points, the BDB calendars, the direct mailer. It's just we plug it into the system. Right. So if you just knock on the door and start a conversation, now it has happened. It's happened. We've gone out there. We've listed a property the next week and we sold it. That's not the norm. No. The norm is you have a great conversation. You send them a thank you card. You plug them into the system and you mark it, and then it's follow up. Right. So I agree with you 100%, David. The key in the whole system is follow up. And there's multiple ways to follow up. And it's not just phone calls, but I would say the most important thing is phone calls, having a real conversation with people, right? But there's also all the emails that we send out, right?
Everything.
Like,
yeah.
everything.
Well, here, okay, expand on that, because I was going to ask you about that. Like, what marketing do you find really works to drive business? Because we got some serious misconceptions out there, right? In order to generate leads, I'm going to go sign up for an online lead gen company. They're going to send me a bunch of random strangers, and I'm going to be the first one to call them, and I'm going to get all their business, and it's going to happen immediately. And over the years, I've watched how that bell curve has completely shifted, where people have realized that, hey, we can still subscribe to a system like that. There's some extra stuff coming through potentially. But most people have also acknowledged the fact that if I do go out there and I meet somebody, belly to belly, I meet them in person, I do the proper follow-ups, that's a higher quality lead than anything that's going to be generated from online advertising. Now, I'm not saying that online doesn't work, but I am saying there's a misconception around what works in this industry to drive business and drive it quickly and even drive it consistently. So back to that question. Yeah, what marketing do you find really works to drive consistent business?
I mean, honestly, some of the stuff that we do with our follow-up, like I'll tell you, the VDP calendars from Kits is one of the biggest hits that we've ever had. And honestly, it's one of the best marketing that we send out to people. We get comments every January, February of people being like, I love the calendars. Even like they've had it for 3 or 4 years. And they're like, your calendar came, it's back on the desk. It's wonderful. So like that type of marketing, like that special thing once a year is great for them. But I mean, one of the biggest things that we did, I think it was 4 years ago now, was we started doing CMA videos for clients, past clients and friends. One of the best marketing tools that we've ever done, completely free. It just takes our time.
Yeah. And Tim, like what when you're talking to people, what do people always ask you? So if you run into someone at the grocery store and it's a client or a friend or whatever, they always go, what's my house worth?
What's my house worth? Where's the market? What's happening?
Yeah.
So and honestly, we're not going to take credit for this. We did take this idea from somebody else 4 or 5 years ago that we saw at a seminar. Yeah. We were like, that's brilliant. Yep. We started doing it. All we do is we do a shared screen with our clients, basically show them how we would do the research on their property. So we plug in all the information that we want to know about their property, recent sales over the last 2 months or however long we need to find some relevant data. And then we show them the process that we go through. And we're clicking on the screen with us in the little bubble in the bottom and showing them exactly where their house is worth. And the amount of emails that we get back or phone calls from people and actually listings that have come out of it is huge.
Which platform are you using for that?
We use Vineyard.
Okay.
Vineyard. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. There's a bunch of different ones, but
it's amazing though when you educate, and this goes right back to what we said a few minutes ago around educating, right? And that narrative that we put out there, but you go out, you educate your clients, you let them know what's going on, whether it's up or down.
Yeah.
Now what's happening is people are looking around and saying, okay, I can see what the value of my house is. I see what's going on. I see where I'm at. Thank you for the information. You've educated them. You built a ton of positive mind share. Now you've set yourself up for them to come back and say, hey, I got another question for you. Can you tell me more about that?
Right.
And that's great positioning right there. Now, in terms of doing that, is there a certain amount that you're doing per day? How much time is it taking you in a day?
Yeah,
Can you tell us more about that?
We set a goal per month of how many we want to do.
Okay.
So you can break it down weekly, daily, however you want. But yeah, we definitely set a goal for it. In the beginning, it took a lot longer because you were a little bit more self-conscious of the video that you were sending. And just you get into a routine almost as a script to it, depending on who it is. So yeah, it took longer in the beginning, but the more comfortable you get with it, honestly, this can take five minutes max. But funny enough, like you were saying, in the good times or the bad times sending these videos, I'll tell you in 2020, 2021, it was a lot of fun sending these videos to people because they were like, oh my gosh, my house is worth this. Not as much fun in the last year to send out these videos to people, but we're still sending.
We had a strong conversation around that. And I know, David, we spoke about this I'm a big believer. You got to tell people the reality. You got to tell people the facts.
Yep.
good, bad, indifferent, right? So like, just like Tim was saying, when you're doing those video updates and, we send out e-blast through kits as well. We do a residential market update, providing a bunch of stats. We do a mid-month update. We do an investor update, but you gotta tell people the truth, right? You got to build that trust. Like if you want to build a business that's referral based, that people are going to call you all the time, you got to not just tell the positive, but tell not the negative. There's always a positive swing you could put on it, right? And you could put perspective around it. Year, the reality is the market was down, right? The market was down. So before we send out our videos, we did an email to each individual client saying, hey, here's the information. The market is down a certain percentage year over year, but here's the positive. We're still really high, right? If you got rid of the COVID market, we're still up 25%, right? So, I think it's
a way to spin it. And I mean, one line that always comes up in conversations, and we're definitely using it a lot more now, is, we're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Because in reality, like, some people are going to come in and they're going to, BS you or tell you lies to get a listing or to try to gain your trust. But that's all going to come out in the wash when you come back and you're trying to get price reductions or you're trying to do this or that. It's better to be upfront and honest with them, even with the crap news, but it's even better when it's the great news.
And be comfortable to walk away, right? So if you aren't in lining up, whether it be on price or whatever, be okay not taking the listing. If you're not convinced and you're upfront and you're honest and you guys aren't just connecting, you and the seller aren't connecting, and you've done everything, you've justified them, you've asked them what they think their house is worth. And you're one thing we pride ourselves is in being prepared and educating people at the listing appointment, even before the listing appointment, educating them on the market, educating them on prices. But if you're not in a line, you're better off just walking away versus taking a listing, spending the money, spending your time and not selling it. Right. So that's something we've always prided ourselves on.
Same thing one of our Mindshare masters just said here, right? 100% sometimes difficult to tell people things they don't want to hear, but needs to be said.
Yeah.
And it's bang on, right? People may not want to hear that things are down. When we're the conduit of information and we continue to educate and we continue to share what's going on, what the realities are, and we empower somebody to be able to make the right decisions financially for themselves, they are going to put that in their minds. They're going to remember you for it. Right. Sure. So you're not necessarily the bearer of bad news.
No,
you're the person who's helping them keep their finger on or their finger on the pulse of the market or whatever. I don't want to say that, right? Like you're there to help them with that. They will remember you for it. It's the same way, Tim, you brought up, putting out the just listed and that person who saw you a few days in a row because of your efforts of door knocking, right? We've talked about systematizing and taking those people, putting them into a system. And now we talk about the calendars and we talk about the keep in touch and the emails and, the CMAs that are going out on a regular basis. And all of this stuff is there to, again, build that positive mind share so that people go, you know what? They didn't just come to me trying to sell my house or trying to help me buy a house. They continue to be here and they continue to stay in touch and they continue to, again, build the mind share. And as I say, oftentimes mind share equals market share.
Right.
Now, I want to rewind for a moment because you brought up about the video and you said at first it took a lot more time because we just weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
Real quickly, we know a lot of people still have a major fear over video. Okay. Getting on camera, having that camera there, looking into the lens, hitting record, and then not only just hitting record and doing it, but posting it. One thing that I've been able to learn for myself, and this was years ago of actually turning on that camera, was post it. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
What did you guys find from that? Because there was a moment in time where you weren't doing it. You then started to do it. You probably weren't happy with it. It probably took longer than you wanted to. And now, I mean, I know for a fact, but you guys are banging those things out daily. You guys are doing video on your social media. The comfort level has risen. Take me through that. Take all of us through that journey very quickly for a moment. And maybe more like, where did you find the comfort and what would you say to anybody why they need to be leveraging video?
I mean, video is one of the most personal as you can get as far as any kind of connection other than being face-to-face with somebody.
Right.
But as we all know, life's busy. Getting face-to-face with people takes a lot of time. Both of us have 2 young kids. We're not out at the bar or, out at night or out at a restaurant, hanging out with friends. Like, we're busy. Otherwise, we're in the office or with our kids. So, being able to send a video to somebody, it's a lot more personal than just a phone call or a text or something like that. So people appreciate that. In the beginning, yeah, it was, you judge yourself, you look at it and you're not sure, it's not good. You're doing 3, 4, 5 takes. Then you realize this is taking too long. Just send them off and you still get a great response from somebody. And you're like, oh, that was the worst video that I made. And then you realize, oh, nobody really cares what the video looks like. They're just happy to see you.
Yeah, and I think you just have to be real, right? And it's just like Tim was saying, like you're saying it's not about perfection. It's just about doing it, right? Just doing it, getting it out there, being comfortable and being yourself, right? Like being yourself. We you did the mastermind event there a month or so ago. Matt Campoli got out there and he was talking. He was brilliant, and he just talked about being himself and being genuine, right? And I don't think any of this stuff is about coming up with perfection and professional editing and all this stuff. That's the beautiful thing about video and social media, is that you can just jump on, and it's just for us too, David, it's a part of our schedule. So we know that this is just a part of it and we have to be on to something else. So we don't really have time to spend 2 hours doing videos, whether it be home value videos or social media. It's a part of it's in our schedule. We probably have 15, 20 minutes max. You pop a couple of them out and you move on to your next thing. So I think the most important thing for us, but it's been a journey. We're not going to lie. It's been a journey. It wasn't something we're comfortable. We're a lot more comfortable now, but
one thing I found too is people, in an email or a text or something like that, you can't tell somebody's tone, right? And when you're trying to tell them something, when it comes across in a video, they see your reaction, they see how you're talking about it. It can come across completely different than if somebody reads a text. And, obviously talking to somebody, you hear tones, but seeing a video, one thing I learned just recently, like since I've had kids, is if I'm busy doing something, rather than sending somebody a text back and being like, hey, I'm busy, can I just give you a call back later? I'll take a picture of like me and my kid at the park and be like, hey, look, sorry, this is what I'm doing right now. Can I call you back in a bit? And the reaction, especially when it's somebody who's pissed off at you and wants an answer right away, they will quickly turn around and be like, oh, you're with your family, no problem. Like, give me a call when you can. So,
yeah, it's what, time is always of the essence. Making sure that we're splitting that time up. And I mean, I think one thing that we say about, even on the video front, just to kind of bring closure to that part, is the consistency of repetition. Again, done is better than perfect. People are too concerned about what other people have to think about them. The reality is, as you do it today, you will be better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you keep going and going, you will continue to get better and take time.
Absolutely.
And time is always of the essence. And I hear from people so often, but I'm too busy. Yeah, but are you too busy? Are you busy doing things that are productive? Are you being productive? What are you busy with? Do you even keep track of what you're doing? Do you know what you're accomplishing? You guys talked about tracking your numbers and understanding that we've now built up data. We can now look at that data. We can analyze that data. We can understand what we're doing, where we're having successes, and where we're not. Mm-hmm. And when we look at time, this work-life balance, this elusive work-life balance, I believe, is very, very real. It's very possible. You have to take the bull by the horns, though. You have to have control over it. Tim, you mentioned about, if you're with your child, you're with a family member, if you're tied up doing something, there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. One thing I would say to anybody is, if you're spending 24 hours a day with just family and you go, but I'm not seeing any business. Well, we've got the life part done, but the balance part of the work stuff, it ain't happening. Right. So how do we turn around and make that happen? Now, I guess in that, I would just pose that as a question, but even moreover, what does the work-life balance in real estate look like? Is it even a reality?
I would say to you that, and we've had lots of conversations around this, David, is that, is it a reality? At times. But here's the thing, is that there's times where, we're self-employed, we're our own boss, which could be the greatest thing in the world, but also could be, you have no accountability to someone, right? Like the owner of your company is not going to come into your office and make sure you're working every single day. So it's up to us. But I would say, you have to switch your mindset to being thankful that people trust you and you're that busy. Actually not busy, that productive. We talked about that, David, in a coaching call. We're that productive and we're thankful for that. But work-life balance, in the spring market, when you're pumping out a bunch of sales, there is not a lot of work-life balance. And you just have to accept that and be okay, but knowing that things will change. And things you have a little bit more free time. And this is like right now, there's ongoing challenge, but right now is a little bit quieter. We're thankful that we worked our butts off in the first 6 months of the year, and we're still doing it now. But we're also, last week, I just told you before we jumped on this, last week I took the week off. Tim was up at the cottage the week before that. So we're taking a little bit more time now and appreciating a little bit of the, or taking advantage of a little bit of downtime. But we were also a little bit out of balance when we're hammering out a ton of sales.
Working, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks straight.
Yeah, every single day. And so.
And, having family. Oh, you're going to work again. Okay, yeah. But
we did talk about this, right? I remember I said it. I said, are we too busy? Or are we being productive? And I think that people need to change that mindset from I'm really, and now this is making sure that things you are doing are being productive, as opposed to just trying to somehow keep yourself busy. Much the same for anybody who's got a lot going on. Something to really keep in mind is that, again, as we see the ebbs and flows of a market and we see where we get busy and then we've got times where we're not as busy, you've got to embrace that. You got to be able to sit back and say, you know what, I'm really happy with everything that's coming in right now. I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that I can manage it all, not allow it to get me overwhelmed. And again, be grateful for what's there, because we know that that's not a 365-day thing. It's just not for anybody. There's always going to be lulls, and the lulls are okay, because when we're being productive and we're being busy, that's when you work in your business.
Yeah.
When things are a little bit slower, a little bit quieter, that's where you work on your business. And the working on will always come back to, in my mind, is going to be making sure the schedule is on point, making sure that the goals are lined up to the schedule so that you've always got that destination and that navigation to be able to get activities. And as we do that on a daily, and you guys talked about the follow-up, the CMA videos, the emails, I know the social media stuff is there. You guys, the calendars, the mailers, you guys have got that so wrapped up that this is where, again, we're pushing now an 89% referral rate. That's a lot of business coming in from people that know you, like you, and trust you. And that sets the stage for, again, do we call it busy? Do we call it productive? That sets the stage for future business. And right now, in this moment in time, again, a big piece of advice I've got for people, as we look at the market and we look at the rates going up and we look at it's a little bit slower and we look at the weather being hotter and so people are a little bit more distracted. This is a moment right now to work on your business. Dive into that contact list. Start to figure out who's not in there. Start to figure out if you've been in touch. Because everything that you do now, everything that you did 30 days ago is what's going to set you up for 30, 60, 90 days from now. And that doesn't matter what market it is and what time of the season it is. We're always preparing for later on.
I agree. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And it's, you're obviously working on your business and you're developing it. But the reality is, even when people, like, for example, a lot of people are on vacation right now. That's an amazing opportunity to get out there and sell some houses, because you actually have less competition. There's less agents.
I was going to say, describe that one. If they're away, how you doing it? But you're bang on, man.
So, being competitive like we are, we always had competitions and saying like, okay, let's try to sell X amount of houses. I can't remember what the year was, but it was, I think it was November 1st. And we said, you know what, right now, everybody's going to start to go away. And they're going to start going on holidays and they're going to start taking time off. So yes, we're going to work on our business, but what an amazing opportunity to hammer out, but like contacting our past clients, really following up with these leads and converting. And I think, in a 4 or 6 week span, we sold like 18 houses when everyone had already folded up shop and started their Christmas holidays.
All you were hearing from everybody was, oh, I'm just packing it in, there's not much going on. And we came into the office every day and we sat here and we go, okay, where are we going to get 4 more? Where are we going to get 5 more? We've got to find 5 more. Like, let's keep going.
Let's look at our hot listings, right?
Literally was Boxing Day that I sold the one. Christmas Eve was submitting an offer. Like, not not saying you should do that all the time, but it was, you know, a mindset of we wanted to reach that goal, and we made that goal, and we just went for it.
You know, it's again, work ethic, right? It's a testament to work ethic.
Yeah, when you grow up in the sporting world and you get to an elite level, like, you know, we got to a national, international level in skating, you know, you learn about work ethic, and you learn about what top level athletes, you know, what it takes.
At a young age,
right? And you're getting coached, and your families are investing a ton of money and time into you. You know, you learn what it takes to be successful, and you know, so the biggest thing that taught me when I switched into business is I knew what work ethic was. I knew what it took. So it wasn't like showing up to work 2-3 times a week. That was showing up 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes. Not all the time. But even in quiet, you know, even now we're in the office at minimum 5 days a week, right? So that work ethic had to be there, because we weren't gonna wait for the phone to ring, because if we're relying on that person. It was going to be up to us to dictate our future and us to dictate our own success. So I think that's huge.
And working with you to track these things, these goals, these IPAs is great, because in a slower time, we know how many phone calls we have to make. We make those phone calls, then you feel like, okay, I've been successful today. I can move on. I can do whatever I want. I can go to the park with my son because I called 15 people today and I only needed to call 10.
Actually, David, let's just talk about that real quickly. Do you remember January, February, the market was real slow. Things were quiet, at least for us. With, you know, we weren't seeing the results that we want to see, right? We just weren't seeing the results. But I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't from a lack of trying.
No.
And we talked to you about this, and we had all of our targets. We had our monthly targets, or our income producing activities that we had to do on a monthly basis. We actually broke it down into every 15 days, what were our numbers that we had to hit. So we knew that we had to send out a certain amount of social media posts. We knew certain amount of lead follow, you know, past clients, videos, and we were hitting that. So even though, you know, we weren't seeing the results from it, we were doing the activities that we needed to do every single day to get that results. And guess what happened? When the market started to shift, we had already banked enough of that work that instantly we started to it paid off very, very quickly. But I'll tell you, from a mindset, it was tough, right? It was really tough to see, you know,
so much effort and no results.
Hey,
right?
What did I say to you at that time? What do you remember? Do you remember there was something I said to you to do? Now, there's probably a bunch of stuff, but there was something specific. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember you were just saying, you know, this will pay off. Continue doing it. Like, I don't know exactly what you said, but
trust in the process.
Yeah. Trust the process.
Right? Trust in the process. And that's why I remember when we sort of like, we kind of went, it's like, oh, here we go. Things are starting to ramp up. We all just kind of smiled together and went, you know, like it's, and that's what it's about. And I think that's, again, the truth about life in real estate is exactly what we went over today, right? Was to get people to understand around that, to go, look, not every day is going to be sunshine and rainbows and lollipops and God knows, and, you know, unicorns, whatever, the happy stuff. No, it's going to be a lot of shit that you got to go through, a lot of mud that you got to dig through, a lot of blood, sweat, equity that you got to put out there and be able to be tough enough to work through it. And that's something that a lot of folks don't take into consideration when it comes to this business. And I think that was a real big one for, you know, for us to sort of bring up for everybody right now as a hit home point. Now I have to go here for a second, because you've brought up two of these things. One from a coaching perspective. Can you share with, and I think maybe you've done that throughout this episode, and I thank you guys. Maybe for anybody that's on the fence about coaching, or anybody that's wondering why with Mindshare, why with David, what would you guys tell them about that? What advice might you give them around that?
Well, I think the systems that you have in place, I think the one thing that separates you from your competition is the systems that you have in place and the way that you can track your numbers, right? So a lot of the stuff inside, when you actually start working with you know, the Excel spreadsheets, the accountability side of it, right? You know, the knowledge, the marketing, right? The marketing, the 7 ways to contact people,
communicate with people. One of the big things in that is, I mean, you know, for us, we're of the like-minded with you. I mean, that was one of the things. Like, it was a long, you know, it's not that we were even on the fence. We just weren't doing coaching in the beginning, but we still picked up some of the Mindshare group things with you. We did some of the Mindshare challenges. That's where we noticed, you know, this is a very similar personality, and this is what we like and we appreciate. And then that made the decision fairly easy when we said, you know, we do need some coaching. We need to get some systems, because honestly, at the beginning of 2021, 2020, we burnt ourselves out. In 6 months, we were burnt out completely. And we didn't know why. Like, very successful that year, great, but we burnt ourselves out working. And we said, there's got to be a smarter way.
Yeah, cool. I'm pumped to hear we found that. And you brought up the Mindshare challenge, which was something we did way back when.
Yeah, way back. We did two, I think.
Yeah, right. And then I know that obviously I know, but you guys had joined us at the Mindshare Mastermind, which you also brought up a few minutes ago there in Toronto, and it was one of those things that obviously nobody, including you guys, knew anything about. And I guess I might take an opportunity right here for a quick moment for anybody tuned in that didn't join us there. What might you be able to share with them about what your experience was there, and maybe tell them, like, why in the world did you register to join an event that you knew nothing about? And again, what was the experience, the outcome? Like, were you happy with your decision?
We were thrilled with it. I think it's great to be able to collaborate with like-minded people. I think that's what it comes down to. And it comes down to, why do we sign up to an event that we knew nothing about? It comes down to trust. It comes down to trust. Sometimes you just have to take a leap. I wouldn't even say it's a leap of faith, because we knew that you had the ability to be able to produce a high-level event, because we trusted you, and we trusted you as our coach.
Uncomfortable investment. I mean,
yeah, I remember that one, right? That was good. That was a great one.
But it was, you know, it was something that we didn't know what was going on, but we did feel like and we actually had the conversation. We said, everything we've ever done with you, and in other scenarios as well, we've taken something away from it that's been very valuable. Nice. And we knew, knowing you, that there was going to be some great content, and there was going to be things that we would take away from it that would add tremendous value to the business.
And I think the big thing, that one of the things was mindset. There was like how many times every person that got up and spoke at the event was talking about mindset, right? Work ethic, mindset, skills. What's your Eric Ritter? What's your authentic
competitive advantage? Your
advantage,
right? Yep.
What separates you from your competition, right? So I think all that stuff is huge, and that's stuff that we've taken and implemented into our business. So when you're in front of a buyer, you're in front of a seller, what is your competitive advantage versus your competition? A lot of times what we like to think is, you know, more experienced, and we're going to outwork you. Right. So we spent some time to talk about that. So,
but lots of great information, knowledge, and just collaboration with people.
Yeah.
And the guests that you had were fantastic. Yeah. And not to tell everybody everything, but 98% of them were not from the industry, and we took a ton of value away from them.
So in a short answer, if we said for anybody that would be on the fence and might see us promote the next event, and we still tell nobody anything about it, one word answer, would you tell them just sign up?
Just sign up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Sign up.
So tell me, end of the day, day's wrapping up, time to go home, you know, get back to the family. And I'll ask this to each of you individually. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
For myself, looking at, I typically punch it in at the end of the day in the Excel sheet, but looking at the numbers and looking what I did that day. You know, it might not be deals that are done that day, but did I call this many people? Did I do this many videos? Did I not do them? Was it successful or was it not? That really gives me my answer.
Yeah, I would say the same thing as Tim, right? Like, you know, for me too, it's just, you know, your mindset, that you're taking action, you're being more proactive versus reactive. One thing that I struggled with myself, and just being open and honest with everybody, is that, you know, when you get really busy, you know, you start reacting to what people throw at you throughout the day as you're selling houses, as you're getting appointments. and you're just taking notes, right? And I think for us I knew it was a successful day is if I dictated my own schedule. So if I dictated my own schedule and I did my IPAs and I completed that was a successful day. And it wasn't for example, and we talked about this quickly, was January, February, when we weren't selling a ton of homes. We weren't having a lot of sales. So if we were basing our success on how many homes we were selling,
we were
failing, right? So for us, we based our success on looking at,
did we make the calls?
Did we make our calls? Did we do our videos? Did we do our social? Did we do our email blast? Did we door knock? Did we add people to the database? Did we, we've got a whole list like on what we have to do on a daily basis to have a successful day. So for us, I think it comes down to, did we make our contacts?
Yeah.
Right? Do we make our contacts?
Tracking those goals. And
tracking the goals, yeah.
And just as importantly, we've all talked about it together individually, and where I stand on this. Did I spend time with my family?
Yeah.
Did I take care of myself? And I will just, piggyback off of what was just said there. And again, say to everybody, in that same respect, okay. I say it like this. We put way too much emphasis on how much money we make and whether we did the deals and whether we're getting closer to the award. Yet when we look in the mirror, the thing that we're looking at the person that, is either doing or not doing, is either accomplishing or not accomplishing. And something that hits home for every single one of us is that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, when you get to that point where the year's over, it could be the end of the day. The day is over. And you're staring at yourself in the mirror, and maybe you're not completely satisfied with who you're staring at, what you're accomplishing. This is where we got to dig really deep and understand, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? Who am I trying to be? What does success really look like for me? And I know that we all have demons we battle in our heads, and we've all got distractions, and we all got a million things going on, and all these different hats we wear, and a lot of good going on in our world. The ability to balance, again, those things, be it the time, be it the goals, be it the desires, that's where we can find true happiness. I know for me what I want. I know for me what goes on in my head when I look in the mirror and I go, I'm happy about this and I'm not so happy about that. I know what it is. Mm-hmm. Which then forces me to say, well, if you want to make a change and you want to be happier in that part of your life, then go do something to get there.
Change it. Yeah.
You've got to change it.
Yeah.
And it comes with the discipline. It comes with consistency. It does not come without the effort. It does not come without the bullshit, without the hardships, without the frustrations, without the burnout. No. It comes with all of it. Those who are really focused on what it is and understand what they're looking to achieve and work towards doing it and can sustain and have the discipline to get past the bullshit, those are the ones that will find the success that they ultimately want. And at the end of the day or the year, when you look in the mirror, you will be a much happier version of yourself and much happier with the person you're looking at.
Yeah.
And that comes back to, again, knowing what it is I need to be doing in a day.
Right.
Both work and life.
Yep. I agree. It's not always.
So guys, give me.
Yeah, sorry, good.
No. What were you going to say?
No.
All right. Yeah. I was going to say, give me some final words here for everybody tuned in. When we talk about, the truth about life in real estate, final words for anybody, some advice that you might give them, something they can do to get out there, how they could build more mind share, to get more market share, just give us some parting final words of wisdom.
Honestly, for me, if it's your first year or your last year, just be consistent. Be consistent, show up and work. Yeah.
And it's, the real estate business is it can be a lonely business. So join, whether it be coaching, whether it be accounting. Like one thing I did early in my career was and I worked by myself at the first, segment of my career was, I got an accountability partner. Get an accountability partner. Have someone to be accountable to, right? And I always talk like, you have to get out and do stuff. You can't wait for the phone to ring. You got to be the one triggering it, whether it be, making your calls, whether your lead follow-up, being active. And I think that has brought us that inconsistency has brought us the greatest amount of success. So, we talked about it earlier on the podcast where, we don't care whether the market's great like 2021 or crap like the end of 2022. We still showed up at the office and we worked, right? So we were consistent throughout the year, good, bad, or indifferent. So the quicker you can get into that kind of mindset, whether it be the market's going up or down or sideways, or the Bank of Canada does a 0.25% interest rates. At the end of the day, it's not going to affect what we do on a daily basis. We're not going to allow that to affect it.
We're still going to show up.
We're still going to show up. So that would be my 2 cents.
Well, I love to say it, and I'll say it again. Consistency is the magic ingredient to achieving anything we want in life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
really enjoyed having you both. Blair, Tim, enjoyed having you both very much on the Mindshare podcast. I thank you for the time. Thank you for all the insights and everything you guys shared. Super pumped to continue to watch the successes you guys are having. And again, I say to everybody, I know the effort that the two of you put in. It's not just here today talking about it on a podcast. It's incredibly real. And hey man, let this continue to be some of the gasoline that we pour on that fire to keep pushing that next level.
Absolutely. It's motivating. Cool.
All right, gents. We'll talk to you shortly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You're either watching us live, you are watching this recording, maybe you're listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. While you're there, make sure you download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. This is a 31-page ebook, including a 90-day social media content calendar, all of it in place to help you build more mind share so that you get more market share. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote talk for your upcoming event, and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with my team or myself. We'll set up a consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we will help you do just that. Quick reminder, please do not forget, if you haven't done this yet and you are a regular listener or a brand new listener, we ask you to please go over to ratethispodcast.com/Mindshare101. Leave us a nice little review, a big 5 stars on how much you enjoy the show. Be super, super grateful if you did that. Again, that's ratethispodcast.com/Mindshare101. I also want to encourage you to connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram. Kits Keep in Touch Systems, as well as REM Real Estate Magazine for sponsoring the Mindshare podcast. Be sure to visit our website, mindshare101.com, and learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.